The Matrix was one of the most iconic and influential action films, not just of the 1990s, but of any decade really, successfully blending Eastern martial arts with Western gunplay to create set pieces that looked like some kind of violent slow-motion ballet dance played out across the screen. It introduced us to bullet time, even though Blade actually got there a year earlier, tapped into the nascent online culture that was growing around the rapidly expanding internet. Remember when the internet was this exciting new thing that everyone naively thought was going to make our lives better, and somehow convinced an entire generation of teenagers that it was cool to wear full-length leather trench coats and sunglasses indoors. I remember one guy at my high school who rocked up every day dressed like Neo. He couldn't fight like him though, believe that. Anyway, the point I'm making here is that The Matrix was a really good movie that put the final nail in the coffin of the big lumbering 80s muscle men and ushered in a whole new era of slick, stylish, fast-paced action films. It was new, it was smart, it was stylish, and above all, it was cool. But the problem with being cool is that it doesn't tend to last very long. A pair of disappointing sequels came out a couple of years later that failed to recapture the magic of the first movie, and by 2003, it seemed like the Matrix party was all over. I mean, it was fun while it lasted, I guess. But when it comes to Hollywood and the possibility of squeezing a few more dollars out of established fan bases, even the most decomposing of corpses can always be resurrected. Some kind of sequel, remake, reimagining, or soft reboot was as inevitable as me waking up on a Sunday morning with an inflatable woman on my bedroom floor and someone else's blood on my hands. Which brings me at last to The Matrix Resurrections. Damn, talk about an on-the-nose title. The fourth movie in the Matrix trilogy that nobody really expected or asked for. But it's happening, and the first trailer dropped the other day. And since it's a chance for me to finally talk about something that's not a fucking superhero movie, I'll be damned if I don't jump in with both feet. So grab your red pills and take a walk with the drinker as he finds out just how deep this rabbit hole goes. The trailer begins in a considerably more welcoming and realistic version of The Matrix, which is a neat little nod to the ending of the last movie, where a new and improved simulation overwrote the previous version destroyed by Agent Smith. Anyway, Neo is busy having a therapy session with Neil Patrick Harris and his forehead. Damn man, you could probably project the Matrix onto that. Notice the black cat there in the background, suggesting a glitch in the Matrix. Also, I love the fact that Keanu Reeves has fully ascended into no fucks given territory. Sure, he could have shaved his beard and cut his hair to look like he did before, but I guess he was like, nah, it'll be fine. I think we just need to accept that Keanu Reeves basically is John Wick at this point. Anyway, given that Neo's physical body died in the previous film, I assume this is some kind of digital copy of his consciousness that now resides inside the Matrix. Or maybe the so-called real world of the previous movies is actually just another layer of Matrix simulation. A dream within a dream, as it were. Oh no, it's happening again! This Neo doesn't seem to be aware of his true identity, but he's suffering from dreams and flashbacks to the events of the previous films, and he's being fed a steady diet of blue pills to try to repress them. It's almost like someone doesn't want him to remember. Something tells me that Neil Patrick Harris and his forehead are not a real person here. Oh yeah, and Trinity's alive again too, which is a bit weird considering she died while disconnected from the Matrix, so there was no way to transfer her mind back into it. So are they just like two ghosts in the machine at this point? Nah, I'm sure it'll be fine. And wouldn't you know it, Neo runs into another woman with another rabbit tattoo, who leads him to another human resistance group that are dressed like they just hosted a techno rave in an S&M club. Then he meets another Morpheus, who's conspicuously different from before, because I guess Lawrence Fishburne isn't exactly in fighting shape these days. And he takes another red pill, which leads to another sparring session with Slimline Morpheus, and of course, another battle against another team of agents sent to hunt him down. In a lot of ways, this trailer feels like a laundry list of iconic characters, scenes and events from the first movie, ticking as many nostalgia boxes as possible along the way. And it gives me the uneasy feeling that this movie could turn out to be some kind of soft reboot of the franchise. I mean, I'll give it the benefit of the doubt for now and assume this is all just a clever bit of misdirection, fooling us into believing The Matrix 4 is just a lazy rehash of the original with slightly improved visuals, only to pull some kind of crazy switcheroo and take us off in a completely unexpected direction. Shit man, there's probably BuzzFeed articles popping up already speculating about the hidden meaning behind the rubber duck. fuck. Now don't get me wrong, it's all very cool and visually arresting, the action scenes look good, and if the trailer's anything to go by, then it's definitely going to be a technically competent movie. It's also a relief to see Neo still kicking ass as the main protagonist, so hopefully he isn't just there to pass the torch on to a newer, younger generation of characters. Or even worse, get Luke Skywalkered in favour of someone more diverse. And I have to admit, seeing him and Trinity back on screen together was enough to stir something approaching actual human emotion in the cold black embers of my dead heart. For a moment there, I was taken back to a simpler time when movies were still awesome and inventive, when social media didn't exist, and the concept of being red-pilled wasn't tied up in some exhausting, never-ending culture war. Now this is all well and good, but the question that keeps nagging me here is, why now? Why are you trying to resurrect a franchise that ended almost 20 years ago? What do you really think you can add to a story that was already tied up pretty conclusively in the third movie? More important, what exactly are we the audience expected to get out of a fourth Matrix film? The same basic premise of human minds transcending their physical limitations in a digital fantasy world? The same conflict between secure servitude and chaotic free will? Another war between humanity and the machines they created? Another cycle of the Chosen One rising to lead mankind to freedom, only to realise their very existence is part of a larger and more sinister plan? Like I say, these ideas have already been covered pretty effectively by the three previous movies, and it leaves me wondering where the Matrix narrative and its characters could really go from here. If you can't do something new and interesting with your sequel, then as far as I'm concerned it probably shouldn't exist. The 20-year hiatus doesn't exactly help things either. 10 years might have been a reasonable gap to let the dust settle from Revolutions and get people hungry for a new adventure, but 2 decades is pushing it a little. Damn, most moviegoers today weren't even born when the first Matrix got released. And be honest here, do you really want to see a pair of aging actors trying to squeeze into their trench coats and leather hot pants and pretend like they're 30 years old again? If I was a cynical man, I'd say this movie's arrival might have something to do with the fact that the Wachowskis haven't produced a successful movie in more than 15 years. Although I do have a soft spot for Cloud Atlas, and Lana's trying to return to her roots here by revisiting her first major hits. The problem is that it's a bit like moving back to your hometown decades after leaving. Even if the place has stayed exactly the same, it doesn't really matter because you're not. The Matrix was a great movie with a revolutionary concept and striking visuals to match, but really, that kind of unique spectacle is always going to be a one-shot deal. Reloaded tried to expand on the mythology and philosophical ideas with mixed results, delivering a sequel that came across as convoluted and pretentious, while Revolutions devolved into a big dumb action movie with giant mech suits, swarms of murderous drones, and overblown CGI combat scenes that look laughable compared to the wirework and physical stunts of the original. The point I'm making here is that both sequels lost the novelty and uniqueness that made the first film so interesting, and based on this trailer, I don't really see where they can take this franchise to win that interest back. Unless they take a one-way stroll down Identity Politics Avenue and make this a female empowerment story where Trinity gets revealed as the true one this whole time. I mean, I've heard weird rumours floating around that this is the real purpose of the movie, and it would certainly fit with the current Hollywood trend of retooling popular male-led franchises with smugly superior female replacements. And if that proves to be the case here, then goddamn, I can only imagine the extent of the fan backlash. But seriously though, it all seems a bit sketchy right now, so I'm not going to jump to any conclusions until we know a bit more. Personally, I'd rather give this film the benefit of the doubt, until it gives me reason to doubt it. Overall, the prospect of this movie is kind of a mixed bag for me. While I hope that Resurrections lives up to the promise of its trailer and delivers a fitting redemption to some of our favourite characters, and I intend to go into it with an open mind, I think we've all been burned by so many modern reboots and sequels to classic franchises that it's difficult to have much faith in anything that gets produced today. Let's just hope The Matrix doesn't become the latest property to be sacrificed on the altar of modern day Hollywoods. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.